today we're going to be talking about a recent news story, which is Scotland's decision to impose a minimum price scheme on alcohol. Now, this is a great topic for your IAs in IB economics, and it's also a great practice for demerit goods, negative externalities, and government intervention into the free market. So it's a really great topic with lots of economic concepts. So today I'm going to explain the key problems with alcohol, and I'm also going to look at price floors and the diagrams associated with it, and then look at the arguments for and against this type of government intervention. So first you need to understand that alcohol is considered to be a demerit good. Now, a demerit good is a good that is overconsumed or overproduced and causes negative externalities or costs on a third party. So I'll explain what some of those costs are now. In this case, the overconsumption of alcohol can lead to many social problems, right? Such as increased crime, increased accidents through drink driving, and it can also contribute to a variety of health problems, such as premature death, cirrhosis of the liver, heart disease, cancer, alcoholism, and a plethora of mental health problems. All of this places costs on the healthcare service, which have to be borne by the taxpayer. Now, some good evidence to back this up is that an evidence-based alcohol strategy group in the UK said that the personal and social and economic costs of alcohol have been estimated at up to £55 billion. Now, that's about $150 billion per year for England alone. And in Scotland, it's around £7.5 billion, which is about $20 billion. This is a significant cost per year on the healthcare service and on the taxpayer for the overconsumption of alcohol. Now, if we were to draw this in a diagram, which you'll be asked to do in your IAs, you can draw it like this. So if we have a look at, I'll explain this now. So the consumers of alcohol are imposing external costs on the rest of society, that tax burden we were just talking about. So the private consumption creates the negative effects on others. So therefore, looking at the diagram, the marginal social benefits of consuming alcohol are less than the marginal private benefits. Now, this is why the marginal social benefit curve lies below the marginal private benefit curve. And we can see that the vertical difference between MPB and MSB curves is the value of those external costs. So that's £7.5 billion I was just talking about. So the supply of alcohol doesn't have any, or the production of alcohol doesn't really have any negative externalities. So the supply curve is the marginal private costs and the marginal social costs are identical. Okay, so now looking at the x-axis, the quantity. So the QFM, the quantity in the free market, is much greater than the quantity SO, which is the socially optimal quantity. So therefore, the market is over allocating too much resources. So in other words, too much of those goods are being consumed. And that causes a welfare loss, which is the shaded triangle here. That's the loss to society as a whole. A good way to remember that is that the triangle is pointing towards zero and negative, therefore it's a negative externality. If you're drawing a positive externality diagram, the triangle is pointed the other way. Okay, so that's a quick rundown of the diagram. So to cure this problem, the government has a number of options: taxing, negative advertising, and in the Scottish Government's case, they've chosen a price floor, which can be seen in this diagram. Now, the price floor or minimum price scheme sets the price by law above equilibrium. Now, we know that the equilibrium price has led to an over-allocation of resources. That means there's an overconsumption of goods. Therefore, if you introduce the price floor above equilibrium, you should decrease the quantity demanded of alcohol and cure this market failure. So you're going to push the demand for alcohol towards the socially optimal level. Okay, and that's the key aim of the price floor. Now, there are a number of arguments for and against the price floor, and we'll have a look at them now. The for arguments can also be the arguments to introduce the price floor in the first place, and that's why many countries have looked at this. Canada is one of them. America started looking at it, and many other countries have too. Okay, so the arguments for the price floor is that it makes people pay the societal cost of alcohol, okay? And then that's what we were talking about before. So it will push the alcohol consumption back towards the socially optimal level. Also, it's important to note it's not a panacea, it's not a cure-all for everything, but a higher minimum price can be a factor in dealing with the very high social costs of alcohol abuse. Okay? And in particular, higher costs will discourage younger drinkers from overconsumption, because younger drinkers of alcohol, their demand is certainly more elastic than older drinkers, and that's because they're less likely to be addicted to alcohol, and they have very low levels of income. Therefore, the demand is more elastic for them. The next argument is, of course, that substitute goods for the very cheap alcohol, there'll be a more positive effect on those goods. So if you put a minimum price on cheap alcohol, then the price will be brought up to the same level as the price for more upmarket alcohol brands, or buying drinks in pubs instead of buying at the supermarket for cheap and drinking at home. And therefore people may go out to restaurants, to bars, to spend more there rather than buying it in supermarkets. This may have a positive effect on the overall economy. Okay, so there's some key arguments for. Now, there are numerous arguments against this. First of all, it's seen as being, by some politicians, as being regressive legislation. Now, regressive legislation means that it hits poorer consumers more than richer consumers. Okay, and that means that in this case it will reduce the living standards of those on lower incomes. The minimum price can be seen as highly regressive, and it will affect those in low incomes the most. Okay, and also, in addition to that, there's already a large tax on alcohol. So by introducing this, you're pushing the burden on poorer people even more. Okay, and that's got to do with the elasticity of alcohol. So alcohol is a relatively inelastic good. So by putting this minimum price, will you actually reduce the amount of quantity demanded towards the socially optimal level? Because it is habit forming and it is a relatively low part of most people's income. So the next argument is that it may lead to black markets opening. Now, the higher minimum price could encourage people to switch to illicit home brews, or as a replacement for alcohol, like moonshine is what it was called during the Prohibition period. This is potentially dangerous as it leaves people exposed to alcohol of unknown quantity and unknown quality. Also, there may increase the amount of bootlegged alcohol. That would mean people driving vans to other countries in Europe and then buying a lot of alcohol and then smuggling it back to the UK. And this has other costs on policing these kind of customs and excise. So again, the key point here is that it's inelastic. Alcohol is inelastic. And then you've got to think, where do the profits go? So price floors are different from taxes. No money is going to the government. So where is the money going? So with the price floor, all of the profits will go to supermarkets, especially if these goods are inelastic. So that means that they will increase their profits with this scheme. Next, unemployment may increase because the alcohol industry itself, the alcohol producers, may lead to a drop in demand for their type of alcohol, and therefore leads to an increase in unemployment. And the last part is about the government. So the government may be better off just increasing the tax on alcohol, because the money itself is inelastic. The money will go to the corporations producing the alcohol. If you tax it higher, then the government will get that money, and they will be able to reinvest that money into advertising against alcohol consumption. They'll be able to invest it in merit goods such as education, they'll be able, and healthcare, and trying to fix the problem that way. So as you can see, there's a range of arguments for and against, and as I said, you've got two diagrams. You've got great arguments for, great arguments against, and this makes it a really good essay to do for your IAs. So that's all I have to say on that matter. So thank you very much for listening. I'll see you again soon. Thank you.